Hey, what is going on, you greasy ghastly? So I did talk about the Eeveelutions recently, the potential that they could have. They gave us two very powerful Eevees. We have the Glass Trumpet in the format as well, which like specifically synergizes with the Eevee EX, which is a Terra Pokemon. And they've finally revealed all of the Eeveelutions that we'll be getting in our January set in a couple months from now. So we're a little ways away from when these cards actually come out, but we know what we're getting. And I've read through them all. There definitely is some synergy between them. They seem okay. I'm not convinced it'll actually be that strong of a deck, but all the attacks combined gives you a ton of potential options. The question I think really is going to be how consistent will it be, and how many of the Eeveelutions can you actually fit into a deck? Because the more you have, the more powerful the deck is, the less consistent the deck becomes between adding more evolutions into the deck and having to switch up as a ton of energy in your deck as well, play a bunch of different energy cards. So but there's a lot of synergies with cards in the current format. Like I said, Glass Trumpet is going to be a big player in this deck, as well as like Radiant Core Ninja getting energy into the discard pile, drawing us cards, stuff like that. We have Earthen Vessel, yada yada yada. So a lot of cards that synergize very well with these Eeveelutions, and I could even see it going like some kind of Pokestop route, because you could play this fairly aggressively because of the 60 HP Eevee with the ability that allows us to evolve on our first turn. You could be a like choose second, attack on our first turn style of deck, and that potential is definitely there with some of these turn 1 attacks on these Eeveelutions. But let's get into them and let's talk about them. So the first one is the Flareon EX. They're all stage 1s, of course, 270 HP. The first attack is the Leaf Typhoon. They're also all Terra Pokemon as well, just to put that out there. They protect themselves when they're on their bench, yada yada yada. Synergize with Area 0, I guess, but we have like the Eevee EX that's a Terra as well. Leaf Typhoon, 60 damage times the amount of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, it's not bad for a grass and a colorless. Decent against Charizard, but Charizard could just choose to only put 2 energy in play off of its ability, so you're probably not going to be getting that 1-hit KO. And then the Moss attack here, which I think is probably the better of the 2 attacks for potentially including this card in your deck. For a Grass, Fire, Water, 230 damage, heal 100 damage from each of your benched Pokemon. So this could also be good for the first attack against something like a Raging Bolt. If they leave a bunch of energy in play, and if you're ahead on the prize exchange, you can just go knockout after knockout after knockout with Leaf Typhoons. But of course, they could always discard more energy out of play, and if they only leave 3 in play, then you're only doing 180. So overall, the first attack of this Pokemon does not seem great. It seems pretty easy to play around, and like it's probably not going to be a reason to include the Leaf Hunt. But the second attack is actually pretty interesting, especially going up against decks like Dragapult. Being able to heal 100 damage from each of your bench Pokemon is not a small amount of damage. Now, you don't heal off the active specifically, but if you're like retreating in between like 2 Leafeons or another attacker and a Leafeon, you could heal a ton of damage, especially up against a deck like Dragapult. So definitely seems pretty solid for the second attack. First attack seems a little bit too easy to play around. So this seems like more of a tech inclusion the Leafeon does. It doesn't seem like a mainstay. It seems if spread decks exist in the format to some extent, like Dragapult, Leafeon good. Otherwise, probably Leafeon bad. Up next, we have the Flareon EX. Burning Charge for a fire and a colorless, and this is one of those attacks where I'm like, maybe we could just choose second with this deck and try and pull off a turn 1 attack with something like that Flareon EX. Does 130 damage, and then search your deck for up to 2 basic energy and attach them to one of your Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. So pretty decent attack, especially on that first turn going second, and we will be able to achieve that with a combination of Glass Trumpet and the 60 HP Eevee. That says as long as it's in the active, even on the turn you play it or during your first turn, you can evolve it on that turn in the active spot. So we could have it on the bench, attach for turn, Glass Trumpet to it, switch it into the active, evolve to Flareon, 130, get a knockout on something like a Dreepy, load up 2 energy on our benched Eeveelution, whatever it might be, whatever one we pick, whatever, and then we're setting up our next Eeveelution from there. Also for the Fire, Water, Lightning, it does 280 damage, which is a solid number. Play Maximum Belt, then Maximum Belt allows us to hit for 230, which KOs Charizard. Some potential there for that, of course. And I guess like the Leafeon second attack could also want to KO a Charizard as well. Like as far as we're talking about, like where are we going to find use in these in matchups we kind of expect to probably be relevant? That would be one. Up next, we have the Vaporeon EX, 280 HP. It's got that heavy Squall for water and a colorless. It does 60 damage to each of our opponent's Pokemon EX. So a little bit of a spread attack. And this specifically synergizes with another Eeveelution we'll talk about here in just a second. And then it has that for the Fire, Water, Lightning, Aquamarine at 280 damage. So another 280 damage hit for the exact same energy cost as the Flareon. So the Flareon, the Vaporeon, I think the Jolteon has the exact same attack. I actually forget. I'm pretty sure it does. So they're all doing 280 for the Fire, Water, Lightning. It's the first attack that we're really picking between these 4. And I guess maybe type advantage, but if we're doing 280 damage, I can't even like think of anything off the top of my head that has like that much more than HP than that we'd want to be able to get the type advantage against right now. 280 also KOs V-Stars, which is like not bad. Being able to 1-hit KO a Regidrago V-Stars, like pretty good. So maybe this will be able to contend in the format purely based on that until V-Stars rotate. That could be one of the draws to this Eeveelution deck. Glaceon EX here, it has more than 130 HP. It does have 270 HP. Frost Bullet for Water and a Colorless does 110 damage, and then 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Once again, another reasonable attack that we can pull off on that first turn. The Flareon seems like the best one, but doing some early spread damage isn't terrible. And then for a Grass, Water, Dark, knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon that has exactly 6 damage counters on it, which does synergize with that Vaporeon's first attack. Heavy Squall, spread to a bunch of stuff, start bopping them with the Glaceon. Could be a kind of strategy for a evolution build, or just like an option in the deck. Then we get to the Jolteon. It does have that same attack here, the 280 damage. Can't use it during your next turn. And then for a Lightning and a Colorless, it's got that Flash Spear, 60 damage. You may discard up to 2 basic energy from your bench Pokemon. This attack does 90 more damage for each card discarded this way. So we're looking at a potential 240 damage, which conveniently lines up pretty good against Raging Bolt. So Jolteon is going to be our back and forth attacker up against Raging Bolt almost for sure. Now we do have to discard the energy off our bench Pokemon, which means for us to get to that 240 number, we have to have 4 energy in play, and 2 of them remain on our active Pokemon, which means we need quite a bit amount of energy, quite a few Glass Trumpets over like 2 or 3 turns in a row to be able to use Jolteon EX to go like Flash Spear, Flash Spear. Now I did mention that, you know, if the Raging Ball player like had 4 energy in play, then Leafeon EX could get a 1-hit KO, but once again, they can play around that. They just put less energy in play. You know, between 3 and 4 energy in play, it's probably not that big of a deal for them, so they could discard more energy, retreat energy off their Pokemon, not attach for turns, stuff like that, to avoid too much energy in play. So Jolteon would be like the main way to combat stuff like that, or even Ogerpons. I guess like actually a situation where the Leafeon could be more effective would be up against something like a Regidrago deck that does try and build up quite a few energy in play to be able to consistently chain their attackers. There could be something there for the Leafeon for sure. Up next, we got the Espeon. For a Psychic Double Colors, it does 160 damage, and you discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. So pretty decent synergy with something like Iono or Unfair Stamp or even Roxanne in the late game. And then for a Grass, Psychic, and Dark, de-evolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon by shuffling the highest stage evolution card onto it into your opponent's deck. So that is much more powerful than TM Devo. I'm sure y'all have gone up against a Charizard deck before where you Iono them and then you TM Devo them and they go look at their hand and they're like, okay, cool, Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Charizard. And you're like, well, I tried, right? But if they're going back to the deck, they need so many more pieces to pull off that kind of combo. And this specifically does synergize once again with that, which one was it? The Vaporeon. Yeah, where we do 60 damage to each of our opponent's Pokemon EX. Up against a Dragapult deck, we're up against a Charizard deck. We can spread with Heavy Squall a couple turns and then go into some kind of like Iono TM Devo play with the Espeon. So the Espeon is like the disruption card out of the bunch here. So it's got a pretty cool attack as far as that goes, I feel like, with the de-evolve attack here. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. There's that synergy there. Pretty powerful attacks, pretty powerful options to have. And that's what it is. That's what the big thing with all these cards. It feels like it's like just pretty powerful to have options of multiple. I don't think any one stands out where you would kind of play like a quad Flareon EX deck or a quad Vaporeon EX deck. But maybe these ones that do hit 280 damage, that's like a pretty decent number to hit. You KO Pidgeot EX, you KO V-Stars, you put a maximum belt on that, like I said, and then all of a sudden you're one-hit KOing these big EX Pokemon as well. So maybe something like a straight Flareon EX deck, you set up with that Burning Charge initially, and then you just go into the 280 attack over and over and over again. Maybe that's good enough. Maybe you don't need all these other Eeveelutions in the deck. Maybe something like straightforward like that would be better, and potentially could even get something involved like, I don't know, Monkey Dory to like move damage over to your opponent's side, because you can play a bunch of different types of energy. Vessel, you could still include 1 or 2 of the other Eeveelutions as well, but make it more centered around something like the Flareon. Might be the best way to play these Eeveelution decks. It'd be a lot cooler if you play like 3 to 5 different Eeveelutions in the deck, and the options are the power of the deck, and it's not just like, well, it's just best to play 4 Jolteon, and that's it. I don't want any other Eeveelutions. That would be kind of lame. Of course, you do have the Sylvanex EX still, which will probably be an inclusion in some of them because it's got that super powerful second attack with the Water Lightning Psychic. Choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. They shuffle those Pokemon and all cards attach them into their deck. If one of your Pokemon use this attack during your last turn, this attack can't be used. So that's a super powerful attack, of course. So putting that in there as an option with all these other powerful attacks, I'm not going to say powerful, they're not like too powerful, they're like fine. All these other fine attacks could be enough to like put it over the edge though. Just like the options is the power here. That's what I'm trying to say. The options is the power. And the first attack, of course, for a Psychic Double Colorless is 160. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks do 100 less damage, so it's an okay first attack. The Umbreon EX here for a Dark Double Colorless does 160. Your opponent's active is now confused. Kind of whatever, just another one of those 160 attacks with a little bit of an extra effect. But it is like Dark Double Colorless, which means pulling it off on that first turn of the game wouldn't probably be too difficult as long as we can draw ourselves into some trumpets, stuff like that. And then the second attack here, discard all energy from this Pokemon, and then you draw a prize card, and that costs a Lightning, a Psychic, and a Dark. It's okay. That's a lot of energy, and then you just lose it all, but you do get a prize card, and that, like, forced prize draw can be pretty good sometimes. Sometimes your opponent has a board of 2 prizers that you can't knock out, or you can, like, trap something in your opponent's active, and instead of knocking it out to give your opponent a chance to attack with something off their bench, if you did KO the active, you just use Onix, and then you just draw a prize card, and then your opponent's stuck for another turn, and then you knock off the active Pokemon then, or you just Onix again and win the game or something like that, right? So, interesting attack. It doesn't seem like overly broken or anything like that, though. It is a pretty steep cost. Lightning, Psychic, Dark, 3 different energy types on the Pokemon. Of course, we got Glass Trumpet, we got Vessel. You could even play the Energy Search Pro that is coming out in Surging Sparks. Got Radiant Greninja to get them in the discard pile to then recover them with the Glass Trumpet. We got all this stuff for it. Still a pretty big cost, though. Still pretty big cost for just 1 prize card. 3 different energy types to then discard them all to get a single prize card. It's a big cost. Of course, we know about the EX, 200 HP. Its ability says that it can evolve into any Eevees. Of course, this one can't be done on the first turn of the game. And then the 200 damage for the Fire, Water, Lightning. Meh, right? Meh attack. Got a new supporter here. Draw 4 cards. Giving us a draw forward supporter card. I've talked about these in the past. It feels like they're never quite good enough. This one is actually interesting, though. This one might be good enough. At the end of your turn, if you have 5 or more cards in your hand, discard your hand. Can we consistently get our hand down to under 5 after drawing +4 and building on our hand to that much? Maybe. I'm not sure. Now, I don't think we'd want to like play this in a deck where we're like purposely discarding our hand to then recover our hand with Restart with Mew. That sounds pretty bad. If we like draw 4, play 1, have 7 cards, and discard our whole 7 cards, but we have Restart Mew on the bench to recover, that doesn't seem very good. Doesn't seem good enough. But if we're able to consistently play our hand down below 5 after drawing 4 and building up on the hand initially, that seems decent. That seems like a decent amount of like synergistic draw power through the supporter. So I could see some decks actually playing this supporter as like a 4 of. We'll have to wait and see for sure. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but them existing would be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool if this is actually the good draw 4 supporter we've been waiting for. And then a new A-Spec card as well, Max Rod. Choose up to 5 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile and put them into your hand. That's it. That's not bad. It's okay. I don't think it's that great. We already have Super Rod. We have Night Stretcher. We have a lot of powerful Pokemon recovery. This is a more powerful Pokemon recovery card, but it is your A-Spec. You're giving up on stuff like Prime Catcher, Unfair Stamp. Is the Max Rod really that much better than just playing a Super Rod? I think probably not in most decks, although it would be really cool to see this make its way into a deck or two still, of course. So I am hopeful that it still sees some play, but it seems pretty mid overall. And I think that's it. That's all the cards we have the translations for. So let me know what you think about the Eeveelutions in the comments. As always, any obvious combos that I missed, what combos of Eeveelutions do you think makes the most sense? Is it just going to be a quad Flareon deck? Can we get Leafeon involved for some reason? What about the spread from the Vaporeon into the cleanup of something like the Espeon? Or what was the other one that did the cleanup? It was the Glaceon, I think. The Glaceon, and knock out one Pokemon that has exactly 6 damage counters on it. Some synergy there. It does take Dark Energy, so once again, potential synergy with Monkey Dories. Possibly, it seems reasonable. Of course, getting the energy onto the Monkey Dory would be the difficult part. I guess we just manually attach return to the Monkey Dory while we Glass Trumpet to our Eeveelutions. That's possible, but I'm hopeful. It doesn't seem overly broken, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I really wanted to see the Eeveelution deck be good, and I think it has potential. I don't need it to be overly broken. I just want it to be good, because the EX and the Eevee are just, those are actually broken cards. Like this card, is a broken card. Any like evolution deck would love to have something like an Eevee EX. Any evolution deck would love to have something like the Eevee, the 60 HP Eevee as well. So hopefully, a while to load up that. I was clicking on that a couple times. Hopefully the Eeveelutions are enough to carry those broken cards to actually seeing play. We'll have to wait and see, of course, until January. Let me know thoughts in the comment section down below. Catch y'all in the next one.